What if I told you Tony Stark, the genius billionaire playboy philanthropist, isn't who you think he is? What if Iron Man, the heart of the Avengers, isn't Howard Stark's son at all? What if Tony Stark is actually Victor Von Doom, the iconic villain Doctor Doom, and Kang the Conqueror is the mastermind behind it all? This isn't just wild speculation. The clues are hidden in plain sight across the MCU, and today we're diving deep into every hint, every moment, and every connection that suggests Marvel has been planning this jaw-dropping twist for years. Stick with me for this roller coaster, because by the end, you'll never look at Tony Stark the same way again. Let's start with the big question. Why even consider that Tony Stark could be Doctor Doom? At first glance, it sounds like a stretch. Tony's the hero, Doom's the villain. Tony's the tech genius who saves the world, while Doom's the sorcerer scientist obsessed with power and control. But when you dig into their characters, the parallels are uncanny. Both are brilliant inventors with unmatched intellects. Both wear high-tech armor that defines their identities. Both have massive egos and a tendency to bend the rules to get what they want. Could these similarities be more than just coincidence? What if they're breadcrumbs Marvel's been dropping to hint at a deeper connection? To unravel this, we need to go back to the MCU's roots, starting with Iron Man 2. There's a moment in that film that's easy to overlook but could be the key to everything. Howard Stark, Tony's father, leaves behind a message for his son. He calls Tony his greatest creation. Not his son, not his legacy, but his creation. That word choice is deliberate. It's not how most parents talk about their kids. It's almost like Howard's hinting at something artificial, something engineered. What if Tony isn't Howard's biological son, but a construct, a persona crafted to hide a much darker truth? What if the truth is that Tony's real identity is Victor Von Doom? Now let's fast forward to Avengers Endgame, where we get another massive clue. After Tony snaps his fingers and defeats Thanos, he's lying there, barely alive. In that moment, he looks confused, almost like he's questioning his own existence. It's subtle, but it's powerful. Tony's always been confident, always known exactly who he is. So why at the end of his life does he seem so lost? Could it be that the snap, an act that channels the power of the Infinity Stones, did more than just defeat Thanos? What if it triggered something in Tony? A glimpse of his true self. A flicker of Victor Von Doom buried deep within. This brings us to the multiverse because no MCU theory is complete without it. The multiverse has been a game changer, introducing characters like Kang the Conqueror and opening up endless possibilities. In Loki, we learn about He Who Remains, a variant of Kang who orchestrated the sacred timeline and won the multiversal war. He's a master manipulator, someone who's been pulling strings across realities for eons. What if He Who Remains didn't just shape the timeline, but also shape Tony Stark's life? What if he's the reason Tony's true identity as Doctor Doom was hidden? Let's break this down. In the comics, Doctor Doom is one of the most formidable villains in the Marvel Universe. He's a genius who rivals Reed Richards, a sorcerer who's tangled with Doctor Strange, and a ruler who's outsmarted entire nations. If anyone could challenge Kang in a multiversal war, it's Doom. So what if Kang, or He Who Remains, defeated Doom in the past but didn't kill him? Instead, what if he erased Doom's identity, rewrote his history, and turned him into Tony Stark? It's the ultimate power move. Kang takes his greatest rival and traps him in a new life, one where he's a hero, not a villain, ensuring Doom never rises again. But why Tony Stark? Why not just wipe Doom out completely? Well, Kang's a strategist. He doesn't just eliminate threats, he controls them. By turning Doom into Tony, Kang keeps him close, monitors him, and uses his brilliance to serve the sacred timeline. Tony's inventions, his role in forming the Avengers, his snap in Endgame, all of it could be part of Kang's plan. Think about it. Tony's arc in the MCU is about redemption, about overcoming his flaws to become a hero. What if that's not just a character arc, but a prison? What if Tony's entire life is a lie, designed to keep Victor Von Doom locked away? Now, let's look at the evidence Marvel's been sprinkling throughout the MCU. One of the biggest hints comes from Tony's personality. He's not your typical hero. He's arrogant, manipulative, and willing to make tough calls that others won't. In Age of Ultron, he creates Ultron, a decision that nearly destroys the world. In Civil War, he clashes with Captain America over the Sokovia Accords, prioritizing control over freedom. These aren't just flaws, they're traits that scream Dr. Doom. Doom's defining characteristic is his belief that he alone can save the world, even if it means ruling it with an iron fist. Sound familiar? Then there's the technology angle. Tony's Iron Man suits are groundbreaking, but they're not just tech. They're an extension of who he is. The same goes for Doom's armor. Both characters rely on their suits to project power, to protect themselves, and to shape how the world sees them. In the comics, Doom's armor is iconic, complete with a mask that hides his scarred face. Tony's helmet serves a similar purpose. It's not just functional, it's a persona. Could Tony's obsession with his suits be a subconscious echo of Doom's need to hide his true self? Let's dive into another clue. Howard Stark's relationship with Tony. Throughout the MCU, we see that Howard was distant, cold, even dismissive of his son. In Iron Man 2, Tony reflects on how Howard never told him he loved him. That's not just family drama. It could be a sign that Howard knew Tony wasn't his real son. If Howard was part of Kang's plan, or even just a pawn, he might have been tasked with raising Tony to believe he was a Stark. But deep down, Howard couldn't fully connect with Tony because he knew the truth. Tony was someone else. This brings us to the timeline. The MCU loves playing with time, and Kang is the master of it. In Loki, we learn that He Who Remains has been pruning timelines to maintain control. What if one of those pruned timelines was a reality where Victor Von Doom became the dominant force in the multiverse? To stop him, Kang could have rewritten that timeline, placing Doom in a new reality as Tony Stark. But Kang's not perfect. The multiverse is chaotic, and cracks are starting to show. That's why we're seeing more variants, more anomalies, and more hints that Tony's story isn't what it seems. Let's talk about Endgame again, because it's packed with clues. When Tony uses the Infinity Gauntlet, he's not just wielding power, he's tapping into the fabric of reality. The stones are cosmic forces capable of rewriting existence itself. What if in that moment, Tony's connection to Doom started to resurface? The confusion on his face, the hesitation, it's like he's glimpsing something beyond his understanding. Maybe the stones unlocked a fragment of his true identity, a memory of Victor Von Doom that Kang buried long ago. Another piece of the puzzle is the Stark family legacy. Howard Stark was a genius, but he was also deeply tied to Shield and the early days of the MCU's power structure. In Captain America, the first Avenger, we see Howard working on cutting-edge tech during World War II. What if some of that tech wasn't his own? What if Howard was given knowledge, maybe even by Kang, to create the perfect environment for Tony? The Stark Expo, the arc reactor, all of it could be part of a larger plan to shape Tony into a hero while suppressing his potential as Doom. Now let's zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Marvel's been building toward the multiverse saga for years, and Dr. Doom is a key player. In the comics, Doom's story is tied to the Fantastic Four, but he's also a multiversal threat. With the Fantastic Four finally joining the MCU, it's only a matter of time before Doom shows up. But what if he's been here all along? What if Marvel's been setting up Tony Stark as a secret Doom, a twist that redefines the entire franchise? Think about the narrative payoff. Tony's death in Endgame was emotional, but it also felt final. Too final. Marvel loves bringing characters back, especially with the multiverse in play. What if Tony returns, but not as Tony? What if he returns as Dr. Doom, his true self finally unleashed? It would be the ultimate gut punch, turning a beloved hero into a terrifying villain. And with Kang as the architect, it ties perfectly into the multiverse saga's themes of identity, choice, and destiny. Let's explore another angle, the symbolism. Throughout the MCU, Tony's associated with fire and creation. His arc reactor is like a star, a source of light and power. But fire can also destroy. In the comics, Doom's tied to darker, more primal forces like sorcery and ambition. What if Tony's arc reactor is more than just tech? What if it's a metaphor for the spark of Doom inside him, a power that Kang's been trying to contain? Every time Tony upgrades his suit, Every time he pushes the limits of what's possible, he's inching closer to his true potential. Then there's the question of Tony's morality. He's always walked a fine line between hero and anti-hero. In Iron Man, he starts as a selfish arms dealer. In Avengers, he's willing to sacrifice himself, but only on his terms. In Civil War, he's ready to tear the Avengers apart to enforce his vision of order. These aren't just character flaws, they're glimpses of Doom's ideology. Doom believes that only he can bring order to chaos, even if it means becoming a tyrant. Tony's journey could be a mirror of that, a hero fighting against his own nature. Let's not forget the visual clues. Tony's armor evolves over the MCU, becoming sleeker, more advanced, almost regal. By Endgame, his suit is a masterpiece, a perfect blend of form and function. Now compare that to Doom's armor in the comics. It's not just a suit, it's a statement. Both Tony and Doom use their armor to project strength, to hide their vulnerabilities. Could Tony's constant upgrades be a subconscious attempt to recreate the armor he was meant to wear as Dr. Doom? Another clue lies in Tony's enemies. Throughout the MCU, he faces villains who challenge his identity. Obadiah Stane in Iron Man betrays him, stealing his tech. Whiplash in Iron Man 2 resents the Stark legacy. Ultron, Tony's own creation, turns against him. These aren't just random threats. They're mirrors, reflecting Tony's inner struggles. What if these villains are drawn to Tony because of who he really is? What if they sense the shadow of Doom within him? Let's talk about Kang's motives. Why would he go to all this trouble to hide Doom's identity? The answer lies in the multiversal war. Kang's not just fighting for control, he's fighting for survival. In Loki, we see that every variant of Kang is a threat, but Doom could be even worse. In the comics, Doom's defeated gods, stolen cosmic powers, and rewritten reality. If Kang saw Doom as a rival, he'd do whatever it takes to neutralize him. Turning Doom into Tony Stark isn't just clever, it's diabolical. But here's where it gets really wild. What if Tony's not the only one? What if other characters in the MCU are also part of Kang's plan? Think about it. The Avengers are a team of extraordinary people, each with their own secrets. Could some of them be hiding their true identities just like Tony? It's a stretch, but the multiverse makes anything possible. For now, though, let's focus on Tony, because his story is the key to unlocking this theory. Let's revisit Howard Stark's role. In the MCU, Howard's portrayed as a visionary, but also as a man with secrets. He worked with Hydra, even if indirectly. He hid the Tesseract. He built weapons that shaped the modern world. What if Howard's greatest secret was Tony himself? What if he agreed to raise Tony as his son, knowing he was really Victor Von Doom? It would explain the distance between them, the lack of warmth. Howard wasn't just a bad father. He was a man carrying an impossible burden.